Hello, I'm Marcus Alton from the tribute website brianclough.com, and my guest on the next Green Jumper is the former England defender Des Walker.
Everything I knew about football come through a Brian Clough lens, and he simplified it. I knew my job, and I knew how to use the ability I had to get my job done, and that come from him.
As a player, he rarely gave interviews to the media, but in our exclusive chat, he talks about what it was like playing for Brian Clough.
And it's funny because in the reserves, it's quite quiet, and he'd be in the stands and he'd be shouting, Desmond, 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 and I'll be in centre half. I know you can hear me, stop ignoring me. But I could just not bother look at him and just keep going that way.
Was it always Desmond? Never Des?
Yeah, he had that way, a little way of patronising you a little bit, Desmond, and he's called Teddy Sheringham Edward, you know, and a bit like your mum scolding you. So he had that way, and it was part of his charisma and part of his armoury, I think, you know, to have something on you a little bit, you know. But you got used to him pretty quickly. You got comfortable. I got comfortable around him, and I think at the end of the day, to play for him, you can't be scared of him. You know what I mean, yeah? And as much as the likes of Brian Clough, Alex Ferguson, they're fearsome characters, but they are, at the end of the day, they're there to win football matches, not to scare you.
Now, the famous song from the fans was You'll Never Beat Des Walker. And strikers like Gary Lineker and Ian Wright said they couldn't stand to hear that song because they knew they wouldn't get a look in. Did it give you a lift?
Yeah, it does, because I suppose I know it's them off a little bit. And I think our fans sung it a little bit condescendingly, you know, and this is why they probably wouldn't like it, because it was a little bit condescending, the way they were saying, oh, you'll never beat him, because they sung it straight after something. Sometimes I was even favourite for the bowl, but they would still sing it. But I knew it deterred a lot of people to try and foul. And in football, if you don't try, you definitely foul. Well, in life. Mm-hmm. So the fact that they didn't really go for it because the fans had predetermined the outcome already helped me.
Yeah, psychologically.
And physically. I think it knocked their confidence because it reminds people that, hold on here, why would you ever go in a channel? That's Desi's strength. So they're limiting where they're going to go, what they're going to do, and they're limiting their choices. And you build an aura. In football, in boxing, in every sport, you need an aura. You know, Mike Tyson didn't fight every fight. He fought 10%. Yeah, the other 90%, they just come for a payday and I was going to go down as quick. Football's the same. Tiger Woods is the same. Football's the same. 60% of the people, before they get on the park, they think you've got to build that aura, so they're playing against Des Walker, they're playing against Stuart Pearce, they're playing against Gary Lineker. Do you know what I mean? Now, when you play the Gary Linekers, that's the 10% that made the best man win, because he's not really scared of me. Or he ain't going to give me... He should relish playing against the very best, because I relish playing against him.
Yeah.
Vice versa, to whoever it was, you know, Malcolm Van Basten. You know, they bring the best out of me. That's why I come in football. But other people, Michael Van Basten will intimidate, I'm sure, the 70, 80%, because you can't fight every battle. You'll be bruised. So you want easier battles.
Pick
and
your
so
fights.
No, you don't pick your fight, but you want easier battles because your aura has dictated that. And I think as long as you start really well, and that's why it's important for me to start well, the first 15 minutes, you chuck that gauntlet down, you think, you know, and I know, you ain't in my league. But you have to chuck that gauntlet down so he knows, well, you know, well, I'll play it safe because I'm playing against Des, or I'm playing it safe because I'm playing against Gary Lineker. This is what people do. Once they start playing it safe, you've got them a little bit, you know. And you know, so I said to you, you can't fight every battle because, remember, there's 60, 70 of them in the season.
Yeah.
So 10's enough. 11 at full tilt is enough.
Now, I've got a black and white photo here, which might bring back some memories of you being presented with a sponsored car by Halls of West Bridgford. And on the photo, there's Cloughie on the right, you in the middle, Franz Carr, Neil Webb, and of course Nigel Clough. I think that might have been your first sponsored car. I'm not sure. Do you remember?
I do remember, funny enough. This is going to be a good picture. I might try and acquire that one.
Yeah.
And Franz Carr, funny, who I seen on Saturday. And I ain't seen Franz for 25 years. That's the first time I've seen him for 25 years. He doesn't look a day older than when I did mention to him, I said I could see when we were playing who had the stress and who didn't.
Yeah.
But Franz Carr was signing a contract. And I had a Capri and I wrote it off. Yeah. I fell asleep on the M1. Yeah, I've been partying and then fell asleep and hit a lorry and wrote it off. So I had no car. So Franz has signed a contract and asked for a car in his contract. And Cloughie offered him that, the Skoda. Franz said he's not driving no Skoda. So because I had no car, Cloughie said to me, well, you've got no car. Yeah, I've got you a car. And I thought, yeah, that's fine, that's great. He said, I've got you a Skoda. Yeah, he didn't say Skoda, I've got you a car, sponsored car. So I thought, brilliant, I've got no car. And it was a sponsored Skoda. But it helped me out, to be fair, brilliantly, because I had no car. But I always remembered, it was quick, and it was like, if there's a decent car, little sports car.
Yeah.
Problem is, you got my name all over it. So I couldn't hide. But it had a seat, and it had a pin in the seat, you know, when you want to go forward and backwards. And the pin broke after about a week, so you can imagine. Every time I accelerated, my seat went back. Every time I broke, I slid up to the front of the car. And I don't know why they would take it back to get fixed. I had it for about 2-3 months, and then I bought another car, got myself for it, and I kept it as like a second car. So that was the story of the Skoda.
Because you've liked your cars over the years, haven't you?
Yeah. I think as a young kid, you know, cars were part of one of my hobbies, really. You know, so I've had different cars over the years and spent a few bob and lost a few bob on them over the years, but I enjoyed myself as we went along.
Des also recalls playing football in the garden with his sons Tyler and Lewis.
And I've got the middle of your testimonial programme, a fantastic photo of you with Lewis and Tyler. That's 20 years ago, so they look very, very young. As Tyler was a striker, or is a striker, did he practice against you in the back garden?
Both Tyler and Lewis. We up until it was about 9, they didn't play for a team or anything like that. It was just in the garden kicking balls. So I taught them technically to strike a ball.
Right.
And I think, you know, the game's about passing. You know, you've got to pass to a teammate. So if you can technically strike a ball, then that's the first requirement of playing football for me. You have to be able to pass it to someone accurately. So I kind of just was in the garden, and that's all you can do, really. 3 of them, you pass and you dribble.
Yeah.
So that's how they grew up, really, just passing and going. And people ask me, do they play football because of you? And are they centre-half? Why ain't they centre-halves? Some people ask me, why ain't they all Boris fans? You know, and you get asked these questions, and I think because they're children in their own right. They're not, you know what I mean? Not a clone of me. They're children in their own right. You know what I mean? Who wants to be a centre-half? Who wants to edit and tackle and end up with stitches left, right and centre? Do you know what I mean? Nobody. Everybody wants to be a centre-forward. And some of us are not good enough to be a centre-forward, so we end up centre-halves. But you know, they was, you know what I mean? And they play centre-forward because that's their strengths. You know what I mean? I played centre-forward a lot when I was younger because I was quick, strong and scored goals. But I was never going to make a living at the highest level that way. And as you progress up the ladder, it's demanding. You either want to be a good player or you don't want to be a good player. So you can sit there and be a bad centre-forward or you can be a good centre-half. So I know which one I chose. It built over 2 or 3, 4 years. The crowd are willing me every time I won the ball and went forward to go forward and get a goal. And I knew I was never going to be known for how many goals I scored. It was always how good a defender I was. So I was never that bothered. But the crowd willed me, and it kind of just, it was this thing that's built over the years. Des is going to get a goal, Des ain't got a goal, Des ain't got a goal. And anyhow, we played Luton, and it was one of them dead-end games where we basically lost 1-0 because it's a 90-something minute, I think it was.
It was late, yeah.
And I laid it forward and just kept going, and then kept going, and that was it. It went in the top corner. For me, it was fantastic because of the crowd. Do you know what I mean? I think it was a bit like they witnessed something of Desi's that no one else has witnessed.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
They were willing you on to do it, weren't they?
But
they really were.
People come up to me now, and sometimes a little bit, I think, hold on, yeah. A lot of people come up to me and they say, I was there with 92, or I just left. And I think my whole career about this one goal. What about the other 800 games I played? But so that shows you how much of a mark it is in their day. They were there the day they scored a little bit, you know.
Yes.
So I think if I'd have got two, it would have disappointed them. So ending up with one was perfect.
It was unique, that's it.
Yeah.
Well, you can hear the full interview with Des coming soon on The Green Jumper. And in the meantime, why not visit the tribute website, brianclough.com, and the shop, the Cloughie shop. Yes, that's where you can buy copies of my Cloughie books, which are supporting good causes. The latest book is Brian Clough, The Lost Tapes, and there's a 15% discount for you if you use the code GREEN15 at checkout. That's GREEN15. 15% off Brian Clough, The Lost Tapes, and I'll sign it personally for you as well. That's all on brianclough.com and the Cloughie shop. Look out for that. I hope you can join me again alongside Des Walker for more special memories of the great man in the green jumper.
Don't forget I love you, and be good.